Excellency, you know, you come from a country which is very friendly, and we have a long history of relationship with you. Could you tell us a little bit about your country, you know, the history of it, and about the governance, you know, what sort of the way that it's governed, you know, the system of government, whatever you like to tell us, so we would know a little bit more about your country.
Okay. Well, I think it's important to know that Belgium is a rather small country in the center of Europe. 30,000 square kilometers, 11 million people. 30,000 square kilometers is not much, but to have on that tiny plot of land 11 million people, well, that's rather much. So that means it's a country with a high density of people.
That's right.
So that's something. Belgium is a kind of hub, a gateway to Europe. You will see that we have at least 5 big seaports in Belgium. They are not only there just for the Belgian market, but if you see the traffic of the trade, it goes to Germany, it goes to France, it goes even to Holland, and some of it is shipped across the channel to the United Kingdom. Zeebrugge, for example, is the main port that has connections with England,
UK.
Which, by the way, is not new, because if you go back to the Middle Ages, the fact that Flanders was a very prosperous part of Europe had to do with the role as a kind of bridge between England and France at that moment. So there are some elements that stay, that were valid, well, 500 years ago. They are still valid today. When we talk about history, Belgium became independent in 1830, after having lived, I would say, 15 years together in union with Holland. Historically, it was not the first time that we were together. If you go back to the 16th century, 1500, 1580, you had a thing called the 17 provinces, and that was mainly speaking Belgium, Holland, Benelux, Luxembourg, so what is today the Benelux. But then, during the wars of religion, Catholics against Protestants, the north and the south was the 30 Years' War. The two sides were separated, and when after Waterloo, the fall of Napoleon, the Congress of Vienna tried to restore, it didn't work because the two people were too far from each other in mentality. Okay, so in 1830 Belgium became independent, and then I go very fast. What started as, I would say, a very centralized state has evolved the next 150 years towards a more decentralized state, which we call in constitutional law federation. Federation means that you have different layers of competence, of power. It's not only on the highest level that all the decisions are made. Indeed, in Belgium we have different layers. You have the layer of the federal state, and I am a civil servant of the federal state. But besides the federal state, we have communities, two communities: the French-speaking, the Dutch, Flemish-speaking community. They are mainly responsible for the social, educational affairs. Then we have 3 regions: Flanders, Wallonia, and Brussels, the capital. They are mainly responsible for economic affairs, and besides that, of course, we have the towns and provinces, and they also have certain responsibilities. So that, in short, is, I would say, the different layers or the different parts that together form the federal state of the Kingdom of Belgium.
Very interesting, you know. So when Belgium was formed, I think King Leopold I, he was in a way uncle of Prince Albert. the prince consort of Queen Victoria.
Indeed, yeah.
In England. So in a way, Belgium is a very important country which border between France and England. It became in a way a buffer, according to some scholar, because before that, a lot of wars between the UK and France. But very interesting, the development of Belgium, until today, and it's not only a very important country, seaport, in my view, it's very well developed, very clean, very green also, a lot of parks. And you can go to anywhere, very quickly. I had the privilege of being in your country for 8 years, 2 times, first as a number 2 and the second time as ambassadors.
Okay.
So from Brussels to Paris, only 3 hours, Brussels to Bonn, 2.5 hours, to everywhere in Europe. Not only that, it's also the place, the headquarters of the EU. So we will have a lot to talk about, there. But coming to Belgium, the system that you describe is still a little bit complex, federal government. So any problem, or is it better, or is it, more efficient in ordinary system where people just have, unitary system, you have federal system. But you have region, you have the language also.
Well, I think that the advantage of a federal state is to bring power closer to the people. For example, in education, the reason that is taken care of by the communities has to do with the fact that you have 2, even 3 different communities in Belgium. You have people that speak Dutch. I'm a native Dutch speaker. You have people that speak French, and then we have a smaller German-speaking community. In the past, this was all taken care of by one big ministry of education. But that meant that the same people, and that could be a Dutch speaker or a French speaker, or sometimes a German speaker, had to make decisions for the whole educational system, while the 3 educational systems, they are quite different. The Dutch educational system is different from the French speaking educational system, and for the Germans there is even another system. So taking into account this reality, I think indeed it was a good decision that you have now decentralization, which means that you have on the Flemish side the Ministry of Education, which is specifically dealing with the needs of the Dutch speaking people, and at the French side you have also a Ministry of Education that takes care of their specific needs. And even our German, let's call it a minority, they also have a person in charge of education. So it's really tailor-made. And that, I think, is useful and good, even though to the outside world it needs a little bit time to explain the fact that we have 2 ministers or even 3 ministries that take care of education.
Quite a few prime ministers also.
But
Prime Minister of region, federal,
But this is the outside view. If you look at not top down, but I would say bottom up, from the perspective of the local person, he can be German speaking or Dutch speaking or French speaking, it's for him easier to have a link directly with a Dutch speaking ministry if he is a Dutch speaker, which in the past was not the case, and that made it for him more complicating.
The form of government of Belgium, I would say also a legacy of the history also, because Belgium was formed, it was from different parts, from different communities, to start with, from the Flemish speaking, French, and then later on with some German speaking. So in that way, so the form government would be to take care of all the different parts of Belgium, former Belgium, territory that came to become Belgium.
Mhm.
So very interesting indeed, ambassadors. So thank you. So don't go away. We come back to the next session where we'll talk some more about Belgium and Thailand's relationship.